being close to business side of things than just more like accounts or tax. What drove me more was learning how businesses work, processes work, how companies operate, how they are different maker checker processes, how they are different teams that operate in silos, but in conjecture to achieving the overall organizational objective. So those things were pretty interesting. So while I was doing my internship with Ernst& Young, I could have the privilege of having an exposure to multiple industries, largely telecom, but also industries like hair care, industries like hiring, industries like job recruitment and CV background verification, etc. So there were multiple businesses that I got an exposure to, and that's where I felt that what I want to do in life eventually would be something where I can use my finance acumen, but I can be close to a business where I can solve like real world problems or be close to a lot of real world how it things happen. And so I decided that I will take some time after clearing CA and look for a job where I can fulfill these things. So I got my first job was with Cipla. It's in Mumbai. It's an Indian pharmaceutical company, and while my starting profile was slightly different, it was a mixture of business finance and something which you call as FBNA, financial planning and analysis. I can come to that later. But then eventually within a year, I kind of spoke to my manager. I found something more interesting within the same structure, and I moved primarily to business finance. So there I was like, that's an Indian pharmaceutical company. So there the business teams are divided basis each category of drugs. Like you have one team for dermatology, which is all skincare, one team for say oncology, which is all cancer drugs, etc. So I was working as a finance partner for two or three of these divisions. And one of the most interesting part was there was a team called key account management that worked across divisions, but it handled like top Indian, say 100 hospitals in India. So ensuring that the drugs are reaching into all the top hospitals in India. This is one single team. So I was a finance partner to that team also. So I quite enjoyed my stint there. That was around 2.5 years, primarily business finance. And then I got an opportunity to work at Amazon. This happened in early 2019. And that's when I decided I wanted to make the switch from pharmaceutical to e-commerce on the retail side. And since then, it's been around a little over 30 months. I've been working with Amazon. Again, the profile remains business finance. It's just that earlier I was partnering a pharmaceutical company. Now I'm partnering a particular division at Amazon, which is an e-commerce company. So that's been my journey.
Got it.
Any,
Got it.
yeah.
Sure, sure. So, I think briefly summarizing, so Anmol did his articleship from EY in Stat Audit, and since then, after that clearing, he's been working with business finance for around 5 years, more than 5 years now. So, Anmol, there's curiosity amongst everyone that they want to understand, business finance in as in what is done on ground, like what are the things that you do on a daily basis. If we can get some gist of the pinpoint, as
Mm.
in the things that that you do on a daily basis.
Yeah. So, so one of the most interesting part about this role is that it is you use your basic knowledge of everything that you study in CA, but you're not using any core concepts, or you're not like working on tax, you're not working on audit, you're not working on direct laws, but you're using your core commerce acumen to work and solve problems with the business. Now, what a business finance person does is there are within each or big organizations, there are multiple divisions, multiple teams that operate to make that entire organization work. And each of these divisions would have like business heads or divisional heads. Of late, this is something not very prevalent like 15 years ago, but of late, in the last 10 to 15 years, a lot of these top multinationals have realized that while you have that main business leader, or you can say like the pilot of the plane who is flying the plane, they have their goals of achieving X revenue, achieving these targets every year. You need a finance person to also uh, co-pilot that growth, where a finance person will come and say that, hey, you should grow, but you should grow profitably. These are some of the cost reductions you can do. These are some of the things you can do to grow faster. hey, look at this data. I can help you that, you should invest in this division more heavily, this division less heavily. Or if a business is trying to, is there's a new product that is being launched, you need someone to do that analysis. Okay, this is a feasible decision. What all we can do, a financial modeling of it, what all, things we should focus on, what will drive more revenue, where you can cut down cost on. So a business finance, to summarize the profile of a business finance, what it is basically you are a finance partner to a business division. Business would have their business goals. You are co-piloting the business to achieve their goals. So while you're aiding in the growth of the business, but you're also continuously pushing your business partner to be more profitable, to do things which are in the long-term interest of the company. You're not doing things which are increasing the cost. How you can support to cut down costs, how you can support to grow revenue, how you can use your data analysis skills, your research skills to help your business scale faster, etc. So these are things that we do in summary. So if you look at my day-to-day job, there are like 30 to 40% of the things that I do are like monthly activities. So I would create something like a business P&L, which is not a tax like the P&L that we make, but this is like a management P&L. So where I go and meet the business every month and I tell them, hey, you did this revenue every month, you were X% over and above your target, which is good, but you also spent this much money. These are the things you can, cut down costs on. Here you spent higher in the last month, etc. Your headcount cost is going this way, and we can engage in all of those. I can push the business to think on levers that they can use to grow, but grow profitably and grow in a more structured manner, rather than without a finance person on their back, they would just do things which are revenue meeting, like the revenue is the target. Otherwise, you don't look on other things that can, affect the business. So that's my day. 30 to 40% of the things that I do are like monthly. I prepare reports, I share with the business, I give them insights every month. Apart from that, 50 to 60% job is all what comes, what is the need of the hour, what projects that we are doing every month. In fact, every week I would be working on something different. Sometimes we are working on a project to say align resources, how to prioritize headcount. Sometimes we're working on a project on changing some business model, that earlier we were on prepaid, now let's move to postpaid, etc. Sometimes we're working on ad hoc analysis. Sometimes we're working on productivity, seeing that how much our sales team, what's their productivity like in the last 3 to 4 years. So there are a lot of ad hoc work that comes in, which is the most exciting part, because I cannot predict what I'll be doing next month. I did not predict what I did last month. So last part of my job is like on the real problems that comes along with the business, and you cannot define those things. So that's one of the things which I like, that it's not very monotonous, but like keeps me engaged, and there is something new coming up every day. And I think in that 60% of the job, in fact, in that 100% of the job, you're not just a finance partner, but you're more like a strategic thinker. You're more like a growth driver. So once you build that relationship with the business partner, they will come to you for all their even like strategic decisions. And that's what is expected out of a good business partner, that you're not just like a finance person providing data. You are helping the business grow. The business, you're talking to the business and giving your inputs, your opinions, telling them that you should do this. Whatever you're saying, it makes sense, but why don't you try it in another way? So you're a strategic partner to the business. You are not just a person providing data, but you are a person that ultimately decides or shapes how a business will work. So while in layman terms we say you're a partner to the business, the more professional term that we use is we are a co-pilot. There's a pilot running the engine, but you need a co-pilot. No flight ever flies without a co-pilot. You need a person to help the pilot do everything in a more efficient way. That's the job of a business finance partner.
Got it, got it. So very clearly explained. So just to summarize, what I can think of it from a layman's term is, that business finance is somebody. So earlier there used to be divisions, like finance used to be one division, then there used to be marketing, then there used to be sales and everything. So now for under each division also there's somebody who is working with that team for managing finances of that particular division. So
Correct.
and there would be, so on the job that we, as in a business finance person generally does, is almost 40 to 50% is they would be developing some key matrices based on which they will evaluate whether this performance of the business for this month was good, what all things brought profitability, what all things might be increasing the cost, and there is need to cut, so that we don't in the year end we don't come to know that we did this thing wrong. We can take and we can guide the business heads to do the things right, from the month on month basis. So that is good. One more, as in
And
two more
sorry,
things that.
Dinesh, yeah, sorry, one
Yes.
more one piece that I missed out, and it's an important part of the business finance job is also planning, forecasting. So
Hmm.
if you are continuously pushing your business partner to do better, one of the key aspect is you are helping them plan better. So a lot of work goes in like business, like forecasting, planning, monthly plans, brand level plans, etc. That we try to do with the business. We help them with data. We help them prepare these plans so that the more clearer or sharper or accurate your plans are, it's the conversation is or the actions are more clear, that when you are say 10% above the plan, you are 2% below the plan, you know what to do because your plans are like as accurate as you would have wanted them to be. So planning is a big part, and it's an important lever that a finance person helps a business to do.
Right, right. Okay. So to the audience, I want to clarify. Let's wait for these questions to get over. I think most of your questions will be covered in the question that I'm asking, and in the end we can take if at all there are any questions left, then you can ask in the end. So also one more thing, even I used to think that business finance and FP&A are the same. So
Hmm.
can you tell us that what is the difference between FP&A and business finance?
Yeah. So FP&A, which is financial planning and analysis, is a division that a lot of companies now have. It's a separate independent division that operates in any company. Now, the core responsibility of FP&A is, say, ownership of P&L. They are the head or the central team controlling a company's management P&L. So, say any company's CEO or like the country head, etc., they would want to see one P&L. They would want to see one picture of their entire company or their country's performance. FP&A is the owner of that. Now, within that country, there can be 10 divisions. Each division may have like 10 people like me working with that division. But ultimately, you have to consolidate everything. Ultimately, you have to look at a central picture. FPN is the core central engine that does that. So their interaction, so my interaction as a business finance partner would be more to with my business, but my job is to feed whatever planning, whatever data, whatever actual, whatever summary that analysis that I do into this central team so that they can collate for all of these 10 divisions and prepare something which is a company view of the management PNL. And then and their job is equally important, like not saying that their job is not as good or not equally, their job is equally important because I have a visibility, like I partner say the advertisement team in Amazon. There are 20 other teams, so I am looking only after my team's goals, my team's health, but there are 20 other teams. So if you have to look at Amazon's health or Amazon's growth, you have to have everything together so that you know that each piece fits into. So I might say that I'm doing good because I achieved more revenue than previous month, but then when I create a company PNL, the company might say, hey, the entire company grew 50% year on year. Why did you just grow 20% year on year? So you have to look everything because everything is related, right? Like each
Right.
thing, everything is related to how the market grows. Like if COVID comes, e-commerce sales goes up. So whenever people are sitting at home, people are buying more, e-commerce sales grows up. So then your metric should be in line with those. And you
Hmm.
can only know that if you're looking at the entire picture in a single place. So FPN is that key engine that is a central team that kind of dotted line reports directly to the CEO. They work very closely with the CEO. So if our CEO has to know the health of the business, CEO has to know any, like sometimes CEO wants to know how many headcounts do we have, which team are they working on, what is the year-on-year growth, can we track some productivity of those headcounts for each teams, so that I can compare where to invest more or where to cut down investment from. That can be done by FPNA because they are like they know everything. So they
Right.
FPNA is the central repository, you can say. They collate everything. And similarly, we as business finance partners sometimes fetch data from FPNA. We take some data from them. Like if I have to plan something for my business and I want to know that, hey, I want to plan how much advertisement revenue I can do next year. But to know that, I want to know what is my sales target for next year. I want to know what is my platform traffic target for next year. That is something that intelligence is with FP&A. So that's the difference. Business finance is close to business, but like some parts of business, FP&A is more like a data engine, a huge data repository, centralized for a lot of businesses.
Got it. So at FPNA, you look at company as a whole, and at business finance, you look at one division of a business and manage everything of that, like related to finance. Got
Yep.
it. So now, suppose if somebody wants to, wants to get into this business finance. So, what all are the routes through which a chartered accountant, a fresh chartered accountant, can get into, business finance? What all is there any course that could be helpful? Is there any degree, or what all skills are required?
Yeah, I think given that this role is a lot in demand, and the best part is that if you look at this role and whatever I explained, this is a lot of like this is more of an MBA role than a CA role,
Mm,
because you need a lot of expertise, you need some managerial expertise, you need good stakeholder management, you need good communication skills, you need, and all of these skills are something which in the society is believed are possessed well by a top grad, a top college MBA.
mm,
And that's what we see also, that if I look at all my peers, a lot of them are MBAs in this profile. But the good thing is that people are realizing day by day that chartered accountants are as good. Like uh,
mm,
traditionally, we feel chartered accountants are more technical experts, MBA are more like management experts. But that line is bridging. People are realizing chartered accountants are as good to be performing this role. So in terms of expertise, I think the skills that you need are more on interpersonal side. I mean, you do need your core finance acumen to be pretty strong. You need a strong judgment. You should be able to look at numbers, you should be able to talk to people and develop some point of view, you should be able to understand that business, so that you are delivering value, you are kind of understanding or knowing which business that you support, you are able to provide your inputs. You can't be a person that just feeds on inputs from others and just says yes to everything or says no to everything without having a point of view. So you need a lot of judgment, you need a lot of high intuition. You should be able to make the right decisions, you should have good interpersonal skills, communication skills. There's a lot of stakeholder management. So normally any finance partner who partners a business head, that business head would be a lot senior. Like my business partner is very senior to me, both in terms of experience, in terms of age, in terms of industry exposure, etc. So you need that skill to influence without authority, that you are able to earn their trust, so that they trust you, they trust your judgment, they trust your analysis, your decisions, your point of view. You have to be heard. So to make yourself be heard, you need to develop that trust. So it's a lot about having your core finance acumen in place, but also having good interpersonal management skills, communication skills, stakeholder management, being able to communicate effectively, being vocal about what you want to do, being proactive in thinking. You have to move fast, you have to make quick decisions, you can't take a lot of time to make decisions. So these are some of the skills that you need for a, like if you look at other CA jobs, something say in tax, in audit, your lot of time is spent on say excels or reports that you prepare, and less time is spent on communicating, interacting with people, etc. Here it's different. You have to spend a lot of time talking to people, you have to continuously engage with your business, you have to present things, you have to speak a lot, you have to communicate a lot. So all of these things are pretty important. So if I tomorrow, like if I'm not able to communicate my points of view well, then my business partner will not have the trust in me that uh, what is Anmol saying, let's ignore that. But if I'm like, if he or she is able to trust me well, then that is something which helps drive that communication, and that helps in personal growth as well. I feel that you would really want to be having that sense of achievement. You only get when whatever you think is being replicated in the organization. So it's a high impact role. I would say that whatever you do, whatever you think, whatever you are actually helping to solve, you can see the real impact of that in the real world. So there are no courses around this. There are no subject there's no book that you can read or course that you do. I think what people just needs to focus on, which I try to focus on, is business. That even when you're doing a tax assignment or doing an audit assignment, focus on business. Don't just take it as a activity that you have to do or a checklist that you have to fill and report to your manager and get your review done. Focus on more things when you're on ground. If you're say doing audit, if you're doing internal audit or stat audit, understand the business, develop those point of view. For example, if you go to for an interview for this kind of role, nobody is going to ask you standards of audit or accounting, AS or anything like that. People are going to ask you real world problem. Ki, hey, Anmol, so tell me if I had 100 of these units, 80 are stored here, 20 are, they'll just throw some real world problem. And you have to put your brains and you have to structurally solve it. Or there can be guesstimate questions. Like a very interesting question that was asked to me in one of my interviews was ki, at any given point in time, can you tell me how many airplanes are flying in the air in India? Now, you don't need to give the right answer, but you have to tell how you're thinking on that. And these are not things you can learn from books. These are experiences. So work towards those. Like if you want to be more closer to the business, work towards those. Try to understand business, develop points of views, and that will help you. And these are things you will just learn on the job. So I got into Amazon, and then how I started learning about these things. But I have to show that acumen that I can learn fast, I can communicate well, I can pick up things quickly, etc.
Right. So I think crux of this answer within this discussion would be that you need two things for sure. Like basically, one is understanding of the business. You should know the business because you are going to advise somebody who knows the business very well, who is very experienced in that. So you cannot, go and give silly advices to that person. Second is good interpersonal skills because you have to deal with people. It's not that you have to be on Excel or a PowerPoint presentation.
Hmm.
You'll have to deal with a lot of people. You'll have to present. So interpersonal skills and understanding of the business are two things that these are the skills that are required. Great. So so next is suppose if somebody gets into business finance, what are the perks that are there in this profile? What are other things that you enjoy doing in business finance?
Yeah, so I talked about them briefly. One is the sense of satisfaction I get because of the impact that I can see of my work in the real environment. So I may be working on a project to say, move some focus from one area of the business to another area of the business, and I do some analysis. I go to the business head and I shine the light on some important factors which helps that business leader to say, yeah, I think you're right. I should less focus on this product because this kind of product is not something which has real potential. But yeah, I should focus on this product because this is more profitable, that is driving better growth. If I put five more salespeople on this side, I will drive far more value out of it, etc. And if that gets implemented, you see the real impact of that. That you can see it impacting your company performance. So that is one of the biggest perks of this role, is that the impact is quite visible, quite clear. You are heard in the organization. uh, uh, this is the first, I think, biggest perk that I see. Second biggest perk is that it's a high visibility role. You work directly, as I said, that you work with business leaders. You don't work with, so I suppose have 5 years of experience. I don't work with business people who also have 5 years of experience. I work with business people who have 20 years of experience, who are directors in my company, etc. So I get that exposure. I get to understand how they think about things. I get to, on a day-to-day basis, be listening to them, seeing how they work, etc. So you get that real, and these people are normally industry experts. These people are like top grad MBA college pass outs who have been in top tier companies, working in top roles, have made their way through and are like leading business units of a company. So you work day in, day out with them, you get that exposure and expertise, which is quite unique. So that's one thing. And I think the third piece I would say is again that your job is not monotonous. You don't know what you will be doing. There are real world problems that you are solving every day, especially at a company which is growing at like any tech startup that you pick up these days. Even for Amazon, it's been there for a long time, but every day is just venturing into new things and new products. So you're doing so much every day. You're doing so many new things every day that you're learning a lot as you go along. And there is nothing, there's no prescribed book. There is not something you can predict that I will be doing this tomorrow. So a lot of new things keep coming up. So a lot of new learnings. You don't. I think one of the things which we always as professionals aspire to have is that we don't want monotonous continuous work. We don't want SOP that is handed out to us and we have to just follow that. We want to be thinkers. We want to be decision makers. We want to be influencing. So you get all of that.
Right, right. Great, great. Okay. So, and then coming on to, since a lot of our, almost all of the audience are people who have given their CA exams, and mostly they'll be clear, qualifying in this attempt. So, as in, if somebody wishes to go into business finance, do companies hire CA freshers, or if not, then what all are the things that they can start doing right now? Which profiles they can go to right now to get into business finance in future?
Yeah, companies do hire freshers also. It's not that companies don't hire freshers. Normally, if you look at these tech companies like say Facebook, LinkedIn, Amazon, Google, they would want some experience because they, as I said, you need a high judgment, you need high stakeholder management, etc., to be able to influence things. But there are so many because I said this role is developing so fast, and a lot of companies are now even today realizing the need to have a business finance team in their. A lot of companies still don't have this team, and gradually they are hiring teams and building this business finance verticals in their organizations. So people do hire freshers. It will so it's not that freshers don't get hired. Normally you might be expected to have some experience, like audit is a great way to learn businesses. So people who come from say stat audit or internal audit are preferred and highly liked because normally when you do stat audit, say if you're working in stat interning, you're doing your articleship in stat audit in a big four, you're generally working in one particular industry or a couple of industries or focusing on one area. So companies in that area do prefer to hire these people because they know that while they were account auditors in their previous role, but they have worked in this particular industry for a long time. So I think having experience in audit or even like tax, because you are again even in tax you have fixed a lot of these big clients that you work day in and day out, so you know a lot about these clients, and eventually these are the clients that are looking for business finance people. So having good exposure into these core CA skills or the core CA areas that we have is definitely helpful. So you might not get just after clearing CA business finance role, but if you are say working in audit for a couple of years, you are a highly aspired candidate by an organization because if you look at it, like even if you have to hire, if I am a recruit, if I'm hiring for my team, I would want someone who has some exposure in the retail industry. So if I find a chartered accountant who has been say auditing HUL for 2 years, that's a good client, that's a good candidate for me. So yeah, both there are direct hires, there are also experienced hires, and people look for experience sometimes.
Got it. Got it. Okay. So, see, suppose once, as in everybody is, conscious to, as in curious to know about what is the future. Like once we got into business finance, if we don't like it, or if we want to, switch. So
Hmm.
after, 3 years, 4 years, maybe. So what all are the exit opportunities? Where do people go after, doing business finance?
Yeah, so normally, what we observe is once people get into these roles, so while business finance is a very high, a big term, there are multiple small subject, like within that, there are multiple teams. You could be working in the costing side of the organization as a business partner. You could be working on the logistics or supply chain as a finance business partner to the supply chain team. You could be working as a finance partner to the sales team. In product companies like tech companies, you can be working as a finance partner to the product team. Here the product means like not physical product, but the tech effort or the softwares that we build. So within business finance also, there are multiple opportunities. People do keep moving, that people try to like one of the things that people try to do is key, let's take exposure of 2 years into sales finance role, then let's 2 years go into supply chain finance role. People also like Amazon is not a manufacturer by itself, but there are some manufacturing companies, for example, HUL. People would want to do a factory finance role, work in one of the factories and do the finance at one of the factory sites. So within business finance also, there are multiple roles that people can do, and these are diverse roles. These involve multiple different aspects. People also exit out of here. I mean, if you're very keen and liking this part, then you're doing multiple things. You're doing business finance, FPN, and ultimately you can be a leader. Like you can head the entire or finance org for a company. You can be the commercial finance head for the company, or you can also move to, like, people from business finance have also move to consulting. Because suppose I can take my example. If suppose a big consulting company, McKinsey, they are looking to build a team for e-commerce consulting, they might approach me ki, you have a 5 years of exposure in e-commerce, they would want a candidate like me. So there are multiple exit opportunities. You can then also go to PE funds, you can go to equity, because even like a PE fund or even like a equity research, they also have sectoral teams. They also have teams which focus on a particular sector. So there are multiple exit opportunities. You can then also move to
Uh, One second. Your voice is not audible, I guess. Hmm. Yes, yes, we can listen now. Anmol, I think it's audible now.
Yeah, should be audible now. Sorry.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, so I was saying there are multiple exit opportunities. You
Hmm.
can move across teams within your organization. You can, and especially I'll give you more perspective on this, especially in big organizations. If you take example of HUL, or if you take say Amazon, example of Amazon itself, there are easy opportunities for people from business to move into from finance to move into business roles. A lot of finance people, after spending some time, have moved into business. Like they've become program managers, they have become product managers, they have also become they've gone into business development, management, marketing. So within an organization that supports a lot of mobility and easy transition, you can also, like, if 5 years later you feel, hey, I don't want to do finance at all, I want to like actually be in business, I want to lead a business program, you can be a program manager. And there are like my business partner is a chartered accountant and was doing business finance role, but 5 years 6 years later he realized he wants to do business, and he's now heading advertisement business at
Right.
Amazon. So people do that, multiple exit opportunities.
So, as
And
in,
one of the things is, this is quite like this is generic. This is not a very core, into a particular thing. You're a generic. Like you were hired just to understand a business and provide your finance inputs to it. So it's not a very core thing that you are doing, technical expertise that you're a very generic but high intuition, high uh, 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 person with a high business acumen. So you can do multiple things. There are no barriers. Jinesh, am I audible?
yeah, sorry, I got disconnected.
Okay.
Okay. Hmm. Okay, so as in, if we can, briefly summarize the discussion that we had. So, business finance is a growing field, and a lot of companies have just come up or just coming up with these departments currently, and it's a very dynamic role. And if you want to get into business finance, there are two things that you should definitely have. Is one is understanding of the business, basic understanding of the business, and
Hmm.
interpersonal skills also play a good role. And once you get into, it's not a very niche profile, so you can definitely switch to other roles, as in to other business finance teams, or you can switch to business, or there are chances wherein if you want to get into consulting, that some management consultancy might also hire you. So there are multiple exit opportunities. Okay, so now we'll take a few questions from the audience. So
Sure.
uh, if you can, if you have any questions, you can ask in the chat box. Mudit, you can watch this video later on YouTube again. We won't be able to repeat it again. How to develop these skills like decision making? Again, Utsav, Anmol has already answered. Like, you need to understand the business. Even if you're doing audit, even if you're doing tax for a company, try to understand the business more, and not just
Yeah,
focusing.
yeah, that is, I think, an
Yes.
advice I try to give to every, like, if some, I would have been lucky if somebody gave that advice to me when I was doing my articleship. But regardless of whatever you want to do in your future, I think as articles, we are always so focused on just completing our checklist or doing what our manager has told us to do. But at least dedicate 5-10% of your bandwidth to understand the client, what they do, what is their business, what are the processes that they have. That will just help you always, like, no matter what you do in life.
Mhm. Okay. So, suppose if there's one question, what is the starting salary for a CA fresher? Like, if somebody hires somebody as in business finance, what could be a range of salary that is offered?
Tough one. I mean, the range, as like any other role, can vary from anything. You can get hired depending on the organization or the scale of it, or the funding, etc. You might get a basic 6, 7, 8 lakhs. Also, you can also get hired in top companies at, say, 20 lakhs, 25 lakhs. It can be anything. It purely depends upon, and there is hardly any bar, or I mean, a lot of these top multinational these days have a salary band, fixed salary within each band. So if suppose at Amazon, if I'm an L5, then I will be paid what any other L5 is getting paid, no matter what my previous salary was, no matter what background I come from. If they find me fit to be an L5 at Amazon, they don't they will give me what an Amazon L5 is supposed to earn. So there is no range. I think I would say that normally, over a career, you will, if you are progressing well, you will earn at least as good as you would earn in a big four, if not more. That is my personal opinion. That if you are good in this field, you find a good company, you're doing well in that company, getting promoted or moving across teams, and you're performing well, you will end up earning more than a big four, if not at least equal, but more. So I don't think finance is something which gets affected, at least if you come to this profile.
So, one more question is, suppose if somebody's got as an interview opportunity for a business profile, a business finance profile. So, what all things can be prepared? Like, what all things can be kept in mind before appearing? How can somebody prepare?
So normally, like, I personally have given, like, over the course of last 5-6 years, maybe like 10 interviews, 15, 10, between 10 to 15 interviews for similar kind of profiles. Normally, there is nothing, not a lot that you can prepare for this role. The questions are always like, there is this format of interviewing called STAR format, which is situation, task, action, and results. So people do ask questions in this star format more often than not in these kind of roles, where you don't they will just give you a hypothetical situation, or they would ask a situation from your current experience. Like they would just pick up your CV. So one of the things that you definitely need to do is prepare a very crisp and honest CV, and know each and every word that is written out there. Because if I am interviewing for someone, all I have is your CV in front of me, so I can pick up any question, any line. A lot of the times we have this motivation to add a lot of things, or add high word, like high, very top sounding words in our CV, or put things which are very generic, but not very specific. So try to put a lot of specifics into your CV. People will ask you questions around that. Normally in these roles, people might ask you, okay, I can see you in your articleship exposure, you have done statutory audit of this client. Tell me which are the five biggest cost for a company in this particular industry. So these are not things you can normally prepare, but these are things you should know. That's why I say that when you go to a client, understand their business, understand what they do. So these are questions which you need to think on the spot. Or they can ask you questions that, if suppose you find a particular mistake in any audit that you do, but your manager tells that, hey, this is how it's been done for the last 5 years, now what do you do? So these are situational based questions. You can't prepare for these, but you need to have a very a good thought process, that when somebody asks you, you're able to build that thought chain in your head, and you're able to answer. So I wouldn't say you need to prepare a lot of things. Just know your CV well. Before that, just prepare your CV super well and know your CV well, and just be confident in what you're answering. If you don't know an answer, just don't answer it. Tell them that I can't think of anything more than this. Be honest. But then what normally people will test in a interview for a role like this would be your spot thinking, your intuition, your understanding of whatever, like how well you understood what you have done in life before that. So if you are a article coming to a fresher's job, applying for a fresher's job, they will try to ask you questions. How well do you know the clients that you were working with while you were doing this audit? So those are the things that matter the most. Hardly, like, I wouldn't think any company would ask questions on technicals, that tell me this standard of audit, tell me this accounting standard. I honestly don't remember any of those, so I can't even ask. As an interviewer, I can't ask because I don't even remember them myself.
Right, right. Got it. So I think we have answered almost all the questions. Guys, the questions which are very specific, like to a particular company or anything, we won't be able to take those questions because this webinar is on business finance as a whole. So we won't be able to take company specific questions. So in case you have any other questions related to related to this profile, then you can tell us. So what is the hierarchy in this role? So being a business finance, business finance partner for a particular business, who would you report to? As in, what is the hierarchy?
Yeah. So normally, like, you are uh, within the first 5 6 years of your experience, you would be something like a financial analyst. Like, your job term would be something like financial analyst or deputy finance manager, whatever. Every organization has a different name, but you are like more of a groundwork, an analyst in the first few years of your journey. You report to someone who may be a manager or a senior manager. So, like, my boss right now, he is the finance partner to the entire advertising org at Amazon. Under my boss, we are three of us, three people who report to the boss that I report to. All three of us have different. So within advertising, there are like 8 leaders, 8 business heads. So between those eight, three of us, we partner. Like, I partner three of them. Another colleague of mine, she partners three of them. Another colleague, he partners two of them. Uh, that's how the hierarchy is built. My boss then reports to a director, finance director. That finance director has, like, is the business partner to the entire Amazon Pay and advertisement and Amazon's non-retail part of the business, which is like whatever you sell on Amazon. Apart from that, everything that Amazon, anything on Amazon Pay, advertising, B2B marketplace, Prime videos, etc. He's the finance director to all those teams. And then that director reports to a CFO of India, who is the finance partner to the Amazon India's head. So that is the hierarchy. Like, each level you are partnering the scale of partnering keeps becoming larger and larger. So the CFO of India might be partnering like the finance head of the country, business head of the country, etc. So that's the hierarchy that keeps going.
Got it. And are there, abroad opportunities, like once you get into this profile, can you move abroad?
Yes, yes,
Would it be
definitely. Like,
helpful?
yeah, so again, one of the good things about this role is this is not country specific. You are not dealing with specific regulations. You are not dealing with, like, for example, accounting standards, standards of audit. These are all prescribed by ICAI, or tax norms, which are all country specific. In this role, there is nothing called country specific, especially if you are working with an MNC, you can like easily move abroad. So I can say that of all the senior level finance partners that we have in our company, they are like, they have had 15, 20 years of work experience, or most of them have had some stint abroad. Like some of them have come from HUL, who had worked in HUL for 10 years. Out of those 10 years, 3 years they worked in UK or some other country. And being in a company, like for example, I can say about myself, I am in Amazon. India is a very small part of it. Otherwise, everything is abroad. So there are so many opportunities, and mobility is completely free. Like there is no one stopping you from moving abroad. You can easily find an internal transfer, find a role abroad, apply to a role that you see on the portal, you like it, and you can move. Depending upon visa situations, of course, that is something not controlled by anyone. But then there are enough opportunities, and people do move abroad. And especially, I think I can vouch for it that at least in US and a lot of these places, Indians are preferred. Like Indians are known for being smarter and more technical experts, and being a good resource. So that also does not deprive of us of any opportunity. So a lot of people, not in tech world, a lot of people do that. In non-tech world like finance, marketing, etc., less number of people do that. Everyone has some constraints, but then if you want, you can. There is no one stopping you. You can get roles abroad.
Got it, got it, got it. Okay, fair enough. So I think we have answered almost all the questions. In case, guys, you have any other questions, you can write to me on WhatsApp. I'll, if I am able to answer, I'll answer it, or otherwise I'll get Anmol's help. So thank you, Anmol. Thanks a lot for this session. And it's been very helpful for me also to understand this profile better. And I also hope for the audience, it would have been, a very insightful session. So, guys, you can write to us, about the feedback of this session on the WhatsApp and let us know. So, thank you, Anmol. Thanks a lot for sparing time on a Sunday morning, and um, been a good experience overall.
Well, thanks, Dinesh. I think it was a privilege for me to be here. I'm happy to connect with a lot of young budding CAs. Good thing that HR Lab is doing is building these platforms, these connects. I wish I had something like this when I was doing my articleships. I could have been more, aware of whatever the opportunities. But I think HR Labs is doing a great job in bridging the gap for the future generations. So thanks, Dinesh. It's a good initiative that you guys are doing. And
Okay,
all the
okay.
best, everyone. I think if all of us are aspiring CAs, be clear fast, become chartered accountants, get into business finance, I can help you get in referred for Amazon. But yeah, all the best for your careers, everyone.
Sure, sure. And guys, if you can, if you want to connect with Anmol, you can search him on LinkedIn. His name is Anmol Sood, and you can also write Amazon. You will be able to find him very easily. Okay, so thank you guys, thank you everyone for joining, and we'll connect later on with some other business, other profile. So see you guys over there. Thank you guys. I think end this meeting.
Thanks, Dinesh.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone. Bye.
Okay, yeah.